The transition between doing absolutely nothing every day and just editing to a full-time college student, and I'm only in 2 classes, by the way, it's a lot. Like, it's actually a lot. They don't prep you. I'm struggling. And I also went on a trip to Dubai, which was super nice. Anyways, on to other things. I've made a lot of videos, a lot of tutorials about editing. And one of my most popular is how I make TikTok edits in general. That's like, people always ask me about that video still. It's been like a year since I posted that video. And honestly, I always answer you guys' comments and your guys' questions. However, with that video, it's so old and like crusty that I don't have any more like advice. And I decided with the new year, 2025, I would just redo some of the tutorials I've done in the past, this being one of them. So in this week's video, you're gonna learn how I make my TikTok edits from start to finish, from scratch. No coloring tutorial in this video because I already have a ton of coloring tutorials and I don't think that's really necessary. I'll do separate videos on those all the time. Like, I will never include a coloring tutorial in a different tutorial. Like, no, I will do separate tutorials on colors. I have a very different style that I am really in love with now. It is so much different than my old style. This one, it's old and the Twixter's bad and the zooms are bad and it's just not good. And then we have this beautiful style right here. The zooms are very soft, and then also my blurs are very nice and smooth. But what we'll mainly be learning is like blurs and what I use and things like that. I'm going to be remaking tutorials that I've been on this channel for the past couple of years because I've had this channel for years, so things are very outdated and old, and I just think things have more clarification now and things are just, the way I do them is better. Still not the best edits in the world. My edits are very basic, like as far as what I do for them, it's very basic. Nothing special, but it's what I do and you guys are interested in that. So thank you for 15K. Cute. And we'll get into the tutorial.
Hello there. Like most editors, I have a PayHip. Now, granted, most of the things on my PayHip I already have tutorials on my YouTube channel for. However, if you're lazy or just want to support me, I have a numerous amount of resources and presets on my PayHip. That includes my popular glitch style pack, my shake pack, and even colorings, plus more. If the prices are too much for you, you are not obligated to buy it, but if you do, thank you so much and enjoy. Hi guys, welcome to the tutorial part of this video. As I already said, my style has evolved in many different ways and looks completely different than when I first did a video of these in 2023. I found out I was not last year, it was 2 years ago. I'm going to be telling you how I make my TikTok edits from start to finish. I won't be going into detail on specific things like how I do my quality because I will be doing a whole different video on how I get my quality to be nice. I want to do that separately. But as far as like blurs and just how I do it and my own tips, that's what we're going to be doing today. And this video, I'm very excited. So let's get started. Firstly, I have all my clips here. I already cut them and I'm gonna pre-compose them right now. This tutorial isn't super hard, but if you're brand spanking new, why did I say that? I never say that. But if you're really new, like really beginner, then this tutorial is probably not for you because you're still learning the basics of like where things are, what things are, etc. If you already are familiar with After Effects a little bit, like you only have to be familiar at least a little bit. This video is a good video for you to start learning how to do these. As always, you need plugins. The plugins I use stray between from BCC, Sapphire, Magic Bullet Looks, and Twixter. Those are the main plugins I use for my TikTok edits, and those are the ones that you're gonna need for this video. As always, I can't help you get plugins, but there's many resources online and out there in the internet world where you can get plugins. I still get asked that like every day. I can't help you guys get plugins, I'm sorry. Today's mascot, I'm doing a little series on my TikTok. So it is Maya and her mom from Girl Meets World. Sabrina Carpenter is basically our mascot if you really think about it. You wanna make sure they're split and on the beat, you should already know how to do that. And so now the first thing I always do after splitting clips is my Twixter. So I look up Twixter and I have 3 Twixter settings. They're essentially all the same, but very minimal differences, and I just to use them depending on like what edit I'm doing. 90 person at the time, these are the Twixtor settings that I use. So I always make sure that my input frame rate is 23.976. And speaking of frame rate, we're gonna pause on the Twixtor really quick to go to composition settings. Sorry for going really fast. Sorry. My composition frame rate is 60 FPS. I used to say like 23 and 30 FPS. It's like really nice still. And it's not that it isn't, but 60 is definitely the smoothest. And I just think personally they look better with my Twixtor. If you buy my Twixtor settings and you think they look ugly, put the frame rate to 60 FPS, please. Like, sorry. 23.976, okay? And so I make the speed 200. That's our first keyframe. And then I go to the middle and I make it between 33 and 55. So I'll make it 55 here. And then I go to the end and I make it 200 again. And then another thing that I like to do is enable Smart Blend and make the motion blur, whatever this is below Smart Blend, I make that too, and it makes it pretty smooth. Okay. And so then, hello? Why is it doing that? So then I'm just going to highlight all my keyframes and easy ease them. Sometimes you can enable Smart Blend or frame rate. I don't know if it really does anything, but like that's like what I've been learning throughout my whole editing quote unquote career, is that people do that. I'm not gonna do it here just because I want to see the difference. But yeah, so then with this, what I kind of just do is I kind of put everything out essentially. So the bottom sticks kind of go out, not all the way, but just enough. Kind of try to make it even. And then here I make, what do I do here? Sorry. And then for these sticks, I kind of just make them go out. Again, not all the way. You kind of want to try to get everything to be even, but it may not always work out that way, so don't feel discouraged. This might be good enough. Now you have to be very careful with these. I don't make them go too far, so I'm actually gonna bring them back in a little bit. If it goes black, I kind of just move the keyframe over a little bit, or I'll fix the graph. But it still speeds up enough. So this is I do my Twixtor, and then I just copy and paste these settings to every single clip. I am a copy and paste warrior, okay? Why would I ever make the same settings over and over and over for different clips? Like, it's the same thing, just copy and paste them. Like, I don't know why that's such a big thing in the community. It's like, don't copy and paste your keyframes. I will, and I will be using my own presets too. So yeah, anyway, that's what I'm gonna be doing. So I finished doing my Twixtor for all of my clips, and now what I'm gonna do is make sure that everything is synced into frame here, because once I run it through Topaz, I won't be able to change anything unless I like feel like running all my changes through Topaz again, which I never do, and I never will run my edit through Topaz a second time ever. So yes, after I do all my Twixtor, I render it, and then I go into Topaz and I add my settings on there. I already explained in the beginning of this video, I'm not going to be doing how I do my Topaz because it's a part of my quality, and I want to do a whole different video on that. I'm not going to do my Topaz settings in here, but you do know that I use it, so that's good. There's many Topaz videos that you can look at. The thing is with like AI enhancement, and then when I add my blurs and my shakes, like it can make it look weird. So I put the Twixtor on and then I go add it, which is a lot of work, but I can't imagine my edits without Topaz, that I've used it so many times. Once I get my Topaz on my clips, we'll be back. Okay, so we're back, and now for my least favorite part ever. And this is where I basically had to take my Topaz clip and re-split them, because it's all in one video, and when you run it through Topaz, it just becomes like one long video without your split clips, so you have to re-split them. And even though I've already split these clips, like it just still takes a bit more time. It's my least favorite part ever. Like, I hate it more than doing text. But anyway, I'm just gonna do this really quickly. Okay, and then I delete the other ones that I did. We're basically back to square one, to be honest, but yeah, we're here. And so now we're gonna do the blur and etc. So I have like 50 different blurs and zoom outs and zoom ins. I use pretty much two. One is more of like a deep zoom in, and then one's kind of like a surface. I don't really know how to explain it, but I basically do the same things and spice it up a little bit different depending on the edit. So I'm just gonna show you how I do my blur and zoom settings typically. So first thing is I take this clip. It's kind of a long process, so I'll just blur mode curves to about 0.700, and then I'll that will be my first keyframe. And then I'll go to the end and I'll make it back to 1. And then I just easy ease these keyframes. And then I do this graph specifically. So I'll make this one go up and I'll make this one go down. And then actually, I think I do a bit more zoomed in. So this is how I do it. I probably zoom it in a bit more because mine tend to be long. If you want it to go slower, then you just make the sticks shorter. That doesn't always look good. So, you know, just play around with that, but this is how I do it.
Hey you, buy me a coffee. Wait, I don't know if that sounds right. I think that sounds right.
Okay, so next we're gonna do the actual blur. So you're gonna look at BCC, lens, blur, OBS, and then I make the gamma 1000. I keep the quality at fast, and then I make the iris scale at 20. That's my first keyframe, and then I go to the end, and this will be 0. I, of course, easy ease this, and then my graph is not that interesting. It's kind of just this. I make it really far apart because I want the blur to blur out to 0 slowly. Then I do the actual fade. I love my fade so much, so just pay close attention. So first I add exposure. First keyframe will be -2, and then the keyframe in the center will be, you make it lighter. This is gonna be the brightness, the exposure. So you can make that as high as you want. I'll make it around 86. And then at the very end, I do negative, between 3 and 4. And then we do our graph for this one. So it's a basic graph that stays there. Basically just pull this out, and I put this in, and then I also put this in. And it'll look like that. And then the last thing I do is opacity. Why do I say opacity? I'm pretty sure it's opacity. So I do the first keyframe at 100, and then I do that last one basically as dark as I want, and then I easy ease. And then this is another just simple graph, kind of smooch it in a little bit, and that's that. Now for extra brightness, because it's not really that bright, I could just turn up on the exposure, but what I like to do is I'll add brightness and contrast, and I'll make this from 100 to 0. And it just gives it extra brightness. So yeah, and then I'm just going to repeat this for every single clip. Okay, and so now we're gonna look at it from the beginning. This is what we have, and we're pretty much done. Sometimes I don't want it to just zoom out, so what I'll do is I'll go to every other clip, and then I'll highlight only the blur mode curves, and I'll go to keyframe assistant and do time reverse keyframe. And then it'll have a little in and out action. But I only do that sometimes. It doesn't always look good. Here, I won't do it, but I'll go to every other clip and do the method I just showed you. Pre-compose everything together and then duplicate, and so it can repeat for the loop. Okay, so next thing I like to do is I will pre-compose both of my duplicate layers. Now you'll only have to duplicate the transitions if you have a loop in your audio. There's not always a loop in your audio, so don't worry about it if there's not. And I'm gonna add panning. Panning is basically, it lets the edit kind of be more movement. With these zooms, panning is so essential because it just makes it look more smooth to me. I use 3 different pannings. I'm gonna have my updated editing pack on my PayHip. It's gonna have pretty much all of the essential things that I use for majority of my TikTok edits, my popular colorings, my 3 Twixtor settings, my 4 to 5 blur settings that I have, old and new. And then I'm gonna have all my panning in there that I use, and just whatever else I decide to throw in that pack that is for TikTok edits. It's going to be pricier than something I would sell individually because this is coming into one. And of course, it's not anything super special. This is what every editor is probably selling. This is just what I use. So if you're interested, then you can buy it. If you're not, then don't worry about it. I'm not even telling you guys because I'm trying to promote myself I am, because it's my channel. I can promote myself all I want, but I'm also saying it because I get so many comments asking. I already have a panning tutorial on this channel. It's pretty old, but it's still very effective. And I don't think the settings I've really used from there have changed, so you can go and look at those. And then I pre-compose everything together, and then I add my coloring. I don't really know, I kind of want to add my Greenland coloring to this. Next thing is text. I am not big on text, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's really important and it's really good if you can do it. It's a nice detail to edits. Who wouldn't love text? Me personally, I'm tired. I cannot text every single thing a person is saying. So you guys have seen a lot of my text effects videos. Same thing again. It's just nothing is different, nothing has changed. I use the same text, so you can go reference from those videos, okay? And then of course, sharpen settings. So my sharpen amp is 1, my edge threshold is 0.1500, and my small detail size is 2.40. Please, I can't stress enough, don't put so much sharpen. Sharpen literally looks like, if you put too much on it, it looks like AI thing. Just don't put too much sharpen, okay? Sometimes I even feel like this is too much sharpen, like specifically S sharpen. And then my unsharp mask settings are 50, and then the radius is 0.5, threshold 0, and then I have flicker, which, you know, how much flicker you want is subjective, but I don't like to put over this amount. So this is it. I hope this was informative. I hope this helped you. Thank you for any purchases that you make on my PayHip. I have new colorings uploaded on there too that I use for this series I'm doing on TikTok, and I will hand you back over to the other version of Tati.
You're back from the tutorial. How was it? That's awesome to hear. So that's my TikTok style in 2025. That's how I make it, and I hope that that really helps. I've been getting a lot of comment on my old how I make my TikTok edits, so I thought that this would really come in handy now, especially because new editors come every year. It's a new year, so a lot of you have just picked up editing, so I hope this video helped you guys a lot. These are my editing accounts on Instagram and TikTok, Films by Tati, and then these are my personal accounts where I post other things. And I also really want to post other things on this channel, but I'm just not really sure like what I can stick to consistently. So, you know, we'll be experimenting this year. Thank you for any purchases on my PayHip as usual, or if you did the buy me a coffee thing. So yeah, okay, love you, bye. Mwah, 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 mwah.